In Palestine, the United Nations denounced that Israeli restrictions on the entry of humanitarian aid amounts to a deliberate starvation tactic. In Venezuela, over 2 million citizens will be part of the great volunteerism for the transformation of the future, a space to guarantee the participation of communities in government plans. In Cuba, the third Patria International Symposium concluded this Wednesday. Hello, welcome from the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The United Nations denounced that Israeli restrictions on the entry of humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip may amount to a deliberate starvation tactic which could constitute a war crime. This was stated on Tuesday by the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, when referring to the risk of a famine in the Palestinian enclave. He also pointed out that Israel, as the occupying power, has the obligation to guarantee the supply of food and medical care to the population. The statement came a day after UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres noted that more than half of the 1.1 million Gazans are on the brink of starvation. Meanwhile, the population of the Gaza Strip waits for long hours to get some food.
We wait for our shift for 5, 6, 7 hours, and we don't get enough. The situation is difficult and tragic. There is no food. There is no money. The situation is deteriorating. We have to form a patrol to support us and distribute rice, flour, sugar, canned food, and everything. We are lost.
In this context, the General Commissioner of the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, Philip Lazzarini, gave a press conference after Israel denied his entry to the Gaza Strip. The official pointed out that half of the population is going through a catastrophic level of hunger.
Basically, the entire population of Gaza is now dependent on food assistance, but we have more than half the population today which are living in what is qualified catastrophic level of hunger, which means that people now are about to enter into a stage of...
Lazzarini also asserted that hunger crisis affecting more than 2 million people in the Gaza Strip was created by Israel.
Already 2 months into the siege, we were warning that hunger is spreading in Gaza. And hunger is spreading in a place which before never ever encountered hunger. So this is clearly a man-made, man-made, artificially created hunger crisis impacting more than 2.2 million people.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he had told U.S. President Joe Biden that a ground invasion of Rafah is necessary to overthrow the Palestinian resistance group Hamas.
We have an argument with the United States about the need to enter Rafah. Not about the need to eliminate Hamas, the need to enter Rafah. We see no way to eliminate Hamas militarily without destroying these remaining battalions. We're determined to do it.
The Canadian Parliament passed a non-binding motion calling on the international community to work toward a two-state solution to resolve the conflict between Israel and Palestinians. According to the news agency Reuters, the vote had been delayed by last-minute wrangling over wording supporting Palestinian statehood, an idea that looked set to deepen splits inside the ruling Liberal Party. The amended motion was passed by 204 votes to 117 against, after most of the Liberal cabinet and caucus voted in favor. The initial version called on Canada to officially recognize the state of Palestine, a step that no member of the Group of Seven has taken. In Argentina, the storm Supercelda advances in the province of Buenos Aires, causing severe flooding and other damages. This Tuesday, the National Meteorological Service renewed a yellow alert, which was later upgraded to orange for strong storms, hail, and wind gusts for the city of Buenos Aires, El Conurbano, and 11 other provinces. The storm has already covered almost 300 kilometers and in its path is leaving serious damages due to wind and large hail. One of the most affected localities is La Plata, capital of the province of Buenos Aires, where heavy flooding has been reported. Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. In Venezuela, President Nicolás Maduro announced the creation of a great movement of volunteers with more than 2 million of enlisted members. The organization stands for a plan of transformation seeking to guarantee main aspects in the Venezuelan society. The 7 main work fields of the volunteers will be focusing to modernize the economy, achieve and maintain full independence and peace. The organization will work also for the preservation of national and territorial security, as well as the upkeep of social, political, ecological, and geopolitical integrity. The head of state swore in the community, municipal, state, and regional promotional teams that will accompany him in the construction of the transformations of the future of Venezuela over the years until 2030 and beyond. In this context, Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro denounced the far-right conspiracy plans to undermine social peace in the country. Maduro affirmed to have evidence that far-right sectors are once again planning to destabilize the country. The Venezuelan head of state called for social organization and coordination, describing it as the key to achieve national peace in the face of imperialist conspiracies.
I have been denouncing the plan of violence of imperialism and their allies. Their only plan is to destabilize Venezuela, to fill it with violence, and they are preparing for the guarimba. Keep your eyes open in your blogs. In your streets, in your community. We have to win peace before, during, and after the elections of July 28th. Win peace before, during, and after. Win against the extremists, against their puppets and the oligarchy. Before, during, and after. Always win. Win peace. Win life. Win the homeland.
In Colombia, the former parliamentary leader Salvatore Mancuso gave an exclusive interview with journalist Holman Morris for the RTVC network, where he spoke about his role in favor of reconciliation and his commitment to peace in the country after serving a 16-year sentence in the United States.
My life has been invested in the violent contrast of war. Peace means for me the opportunity for redemption. I pass towards the reconstruction of what was destroyed, not only in material terms, but also in the social tissue and in the salvation of Colombians. The Mancuso of today is a person transformed by the experience of war. I am committed to the creation of a peaceful future through my involvement in spaces of reconciliation, dialogue. I seek to be an actor of change, not of revenge.
Likewise, Mancuso offered his perspective regarding the role of former President Álvaro Uribe in his extradition process, indicating him to have intensified the conflict in Colombia during his management.
It's not important to me, nor do I come with a mood of revenge, of retaliation, because he extradited me. I come with the encouragement, the confidence, the commitment to turn the page. I'm not interested in Uribe, and I think the country is not interested in Uribe either, because Uribe was not a friend of peace, a friend of reconciliation. On the contrary, his democratic security policy perpetuated the conflict. 6,000 people missing or murdered with false positives during his government. Think of all these difficult situations that were experienced. Then, it does not contribute to peace. And what is important today is peace, reconciliation, turning the page, because it is not important for us.
In Cuba, the third Patria International Symposium concludes this Wednesday. Communicators and leaders discussed the possibility of a new world order for information and communication. The event welcomed more than 100 guests from 30 countries and seeks to consolidate digital political communication and sovereign development of technologies that promote communication progress in nations. The Patria International Symposium also seeks to broaden new horizons on the eve of a digitalized global order protected by an already limited mass communication culture, but with other approaches to promote the development of ideas. The conference, Communication and Journalism for the Global South, Possibility of an Alternative Press, was planned for the closing day. In Cuba, during the third day of the Patria International Symposium, the president of TeleSUR, Patricia Villegas, ratified the idea for the creation of the multi-platform of information comprised with the reality of Latin American people.
How TeleSUR was born. It was born in the year 2005, and it was born as a traditional television. That is what we're going to do from the South, from our Latin America. An idea from Fidel, an idea from Commander Chavez, two great promoters of this television station. We have to be able to generate our own history, not to go against it, but to generate our own story, to build a media network for real that summon us, unite us, allow us to spread our ideas, strength and structures.
During her speech, Patricia Villegas pointed out that despite the reality faced by TeleSUR due to the economic blockades against the countries that support the multi-platform, the channel has been reborn to bring reality to the countries of the world.
When TeleSUR turns 18 years old, what has happened with these partners? What has happened with the sponsors? What has happened with the countries that promote it? Cuba blocked for 65 years, Venezuela blocked, Nicaragua blocked, and a coup d'etat in Bolivia. That is the political reality of the countries that support this communication effort. Latin America and the Caribbean, and the hard years of resistance. We are now moving on to one hand resisting and the other advancing. As we are advancing now is an opportunity for the media of the global south, which means that all that we have done, which is our museum, our medals, our diplomas of honor that we have won, we have to live it, hanging on the wall or keep it in a trunk of memories and be reborn.
We have a fun short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience. You can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with TeleSUR. Fun short break, don't go away. Welcome back from the South. The United States Supreme Court on Tuesday ruled in favor of Texas' anti-immigrant law, which allows police to detain and expel migrants. In this way, the state law allows any Texas police officers to detain migrants suspected of entering the country irregularly and empowers judges to order their expulsion from the United States. Known as SB4, the rule was upheld after the conservative majority court rejected an emergency request by the Joe Biden administration. The states do not have the authority to legislate on migration. The decision is not final, and a lower court will continue to review the legality of the rule, but it is possible that the case could return to the Supreme Court for a final ruling.
I would expect the court ultimately to strike the law down. It's extraordinary because it directly interferes with international law and federal determinations of who has the right to remain in the U.S. And that interference has pretty severe foreign policy consequences.
In Mexico, Foreign Affairs Secretary Alicia Bárcena qualified a Texas law that would allow state police to arrest and deport migrants who cross illegally from Mexico into the United States as xenophobic and discriminatory.
It is an anti-migrant, xenophobic, discriminatory law that says that any migrant or any person moving anywhere in Texas can be detained by the authorities and put in jail or deported. I believe that the most important thing is to tell you that we have a strategy for human mobility. Mexico has a unique model. There is no other country that is at the same time a country of origin, transit, destination, and return. That's who we are.
In turn, the Foreign Minister of Honduras, Enrique Reina, regretted the ruling of the Supreme Court of the United States. Through his account on the social media X, the diplomat wrote, "We regret the decision of the Supreme Court of the United States to approve the entry into force of the controversial immigration law in Texas. This law grants authorities the power to detain and expel people they consider suspected of having crossed the southern border in a regular manner." In this sense, he expressed that this law excessively criminalizes migration, will provoke the separation of families, will encourage discrimination and violates human rights and dignity of migrants. Polish farmers on Wednesday staged tractor blockades on roads nationwide in their latest protest against farm imports from outside the European Union and the bloc's environmental red tape. Farmers have been blocking border crossings with Ukraine since last month to protest what they consider unfair competition from goods coming in from neighboring Ukraine. In this regard, the Polish police said in a statement that more than 580 protests are planned across the country, with an estimated 70,000 people expected to participate. On Wednesday, EU member states and lawmakers reached an agreement to limit duty-free imports of some Ukrainian grain.
We are essentially fighting for the abolition of the Green Deal. That's our top priority, and we also want the border with Ukraine to be closed. I don't have enough money to continue my production. How long can you produce at a loss? The last 2 years have been difficult, but the price of cereals has remained more or less stable. Whereas now every farmer is asking himself whether it makes sense to go out into the fields and sow.
In Vietnam, President Vo Van Thuong resigned following accusations of irregularities during his administration. The Central Committee of the Communist Party considers that the conduct of the former president has tarnished the reputation of the political organization and therefore accepted his resignation. Vo Van Thuong assumed power in March 2023 following the departure of President Nguyen Xuan Phuc for corruption scandals during the pandemic. In Cuba, the Son, Ritmos y Bailes Populares Fair, a commercial and dance event to be held in Havana from May 2nd to the 5th, is being organized as a prelude to the world's largest Rueda de Casino. In an interview with Prensa Latina, the cultural promoter and founder of the project Retomando el Son Bailando Casino, Luis Llamo, explained that the initiative was conceived with a group of Cuban entrepreneurs who traveled to Caracas, the Venezuelan capital, to promote and market the products of their micro, small and medium enterprises. It is a macro and multifunctional event, and like the one already held in Caracas, the one to be held in Havana will consist of workshops, exhibitions, and federations from different parts of the world will visit us to exhibit their products, he said. Now we move on to the world of sports because on Wednesday in South Korea was the opening day of Major League Baseball in a challenge between two rivals from cities on the west coast of the United States, the San Diego Padres and the Los Angeles Dodgers. In this way, the baseball season began as part of an international series, this time in Seoul, where two MLB teams will play two games. It's worth noting that both teams have in their rosters the presence of players from Asia, such as the Japanese star Shohei Ohtani and the Korean Ha-Seong Kim, along with recognized players also from Latin America, Canada, and the United States. Precisely in the opening day, with a crowd of 15,952 inside the stadium and almost the same amount outside, the favorite team this year to win it all, Los Angeles Dodgers, defeated San Diego Padres with a comeback win by a final score of 5-2.
but with some top spin. If it even had no spin or backspin, it goes a long, long way.
Incredible, amazing. They were throwing a pretty good game. We were battling, and then we come back and score 4 runs in the seventh inning, I think it was. And that's a little bit that this team can show. And we just gotta get going and try to win more games.
We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.